Hi, it's Gary at Vintage Electronics Repair, and today we're going to be working on another of my own personal amplifiers. So earlier I posted a video about my 1976 silverface Vibrolux, and I also posted a video about this 1976 silverface Fender Deluxe Reverb. This amp has a little bit of a hum. Let's see if we can hear it. Now, it hasn't had much work done to it. It did have the modification of the bias supply from the bias balance circuit that was typical of this era to the more useful bias adjust circuit. So that had been done by someone previous to me. However, all of the electrolytics are original. So we are going to be replacing that. As you can hear, I think you could probably hear that. There's a fair bit of hum there. I'm going to pick up a little bit from the reverb circuit. Yeah, so that could be the power supply filter capacitors that we'll be swapping out for sure. Anyhow, let's take a look. So here are the power supply filter capacitors, and as you can see, this cap right here has been leaking. The last time I looked at this, it was fine. So this has just happened. So we caught it just at the right time. So we're going to replace all of these. We'll check these resistors right now. Might as well, these power resistors. So this one should be 2.2K and it is 2.17, so that's fine. And then this one should be 10K and it is 10.2K. So those are great. I don't have to change those out. So we will clean that up, and I'm going to replace those with some lovely F&T capacitors. These are my favorites. These are great. Okay, let's get at it. So the filter caps are in, and we'll put the doghouse back on and flip her over and take a look at those cathode bypass caps. It probably won't be touching the signal caps, but the cathode bypass caps for sure. So all of these white Mallories are cathode bypass caps. There's one snuck in back there, and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all going to be replaced. In addition, I'm going to be replacing this bias cap right here, also a Mallory. All right, let's get at that. So I'm going to begin by replacing the bias cap, and we have to keep in mind, because bias voltage is negative voltage, we're going to wire that in backwards from what we would normally do, and I'm going to be replacing it with this Sprague atom here, and I've lifted out this connection just to give me better access to the solder joints here. So we'll do that and I'll come right back to you. Okay, so we have the bias cap in and we have the positive going to ground, and now we'll start working on these bypass capacitors, and I'm going to be replacing them with these Sprague 25 microfarad 50 volt caps. So through the magic of video, I will return when that is finished. Okay, just one more to go, And interestingly enough, it's actually a 5 microfarad, unlike the others. So we're going to be using a 5 microfarad. Okay, so all of the caps are in, and I've double checked the polarity. That's always good to do. Doesn't matter how often you've done this, make sure you double check. And you might be wondering about this yellow caps that seems a little bit out of place. And in fact, I added that earlier. That is, I put that in to stop the ticking of the tremolo circuit. Sometimes, quite often, you can fix that ticking just with lead dress. But in this case, I had difficulty doing that. So an easy fix is just to add that little cap in to stop the ticking. And so now I will clean up the flux from the solder joints that I've done. And then we will bring the amp up slowly on a variac, because whenever you've changed some electrolytic capacitors, you want to make sure you bring it up slowly. And we'll see whether we get some magic smoke. Okay, so I have the amp hooked up to a variac, a current limiter, and an isolation transformer. We don't really need the isolation transformer, but it's part of the circuit anyhow. So, and I'm going to bring up the voltage slowly. And first of all, I'm just checking to see whether we're getting, without the, well, while the amp is on standby, to see whether we're getting any kind of voltage. 28, 29, 30, etc., etc. Let that bring up. It's going to be lower voltage than normal because it's going through a current limiter. 209. All right, well, we'll just let that warm up slowly, bit by bit. And I think we're going to be okay. So I'll come back when we're ready to do a sound test. So before we do a sound test, just running it through a signal generator. And you can see we are getting some clipping there. I'll have to check the bias. We certainly aren't getting some bias, but I have to probably reset it, readjust it. Okay, so let's do the math for the biasing. The Deluxe has two 6v6 power tubes in push-pull, so that's 14 watts. I tend to play fairly clean, so let's say we have a plate dissipation of 65%. That's going to be 9.1 watts. Okay, 9.1 watts divided by voltage at the plate, and I measured that at 414, is giving us 21.9, we'll say 22 milliamps of current is what we want. So we will adjust that accordingly. All right, we're looking for 22. We're at 19.7. Wrong way. Ah, come on, you. There you go. All right, we'll leave that for a little bit, but looks like we're good to go. The hum appears to be gone, so that's not surprising, but that's good. And